Today we're going to make this 4x4 piece of duct. First thing you need to do is calculate the rough or the exact cut size for a 4x4x4x4 duct. Therefore, this way, we've got 4 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches. That's 16. We need 1 for the Pittsburgh lock and a 1/4 inch on this end, meaning 17 1/4. The length of the duct is always stated in the shop drawing, 6 inches. So that's 6, and we're adding a 1/2 inch on each end for the drive cleat, or S&N drives. So that would be 7. So I need to draw a rectangle 17 1/4 by 7. 1 inch on both sides is where I want to start my rectangle. I would like to draw my duct this way. I'm going to go 17 1/4. 5 1/4. And I said 7 that way. This represents the piece of metal that we are cutting in the shear. Always start with your cut size rectangle. Next step, I'm going to add Pittsburgh lock on one end, and my 1/4 inch on the other end. Now I am going to be adding my 1/2 and 1/2. It'll look different than this. Now I will put my duct sizes in. In this case, it's a 4x4 duct. Four. So now all there's left to do is to notch. I will now be darkening the object lines. I will now name this line cut line, finish line, working line, or sometimes called the 1-inch line. This is your Pittsburgh lock, female side. This is the male 1/4 inch. And these X's mark the bend lines. Cut length was 7 inches. Finished is 6, and the working is 5. There, as we said in the beginning, your cut size is 17 1/4 by 7. Draw the rectangle, add your locks, seams, connectors, 4 by 4 duct. The first thing we need to do is figure out how large my cut size is going to be. And if we do the math, you will notice that this is 4, this is 2, 4 and 2, 12. We add 1 inch for the Pittsburgh seam, that's 13, and here's a 1/4 inch to connect the male end of the Pittsburgh seam. So therefore, 13 1/4, the length of the duct is 6 inches. We need to add a 1/2 inch for our drive connector. Therefore, we will need to make this rectangle 7 inches long. So I am going to start by drawing a rectangle 13 1/4 by 7. I am now adding a 1 inch Pittsburgh and 1/4 inch male end of the Pittsburgh. And it's always good practice to start drawing bottom left-hand corner of your drafting paper, approximately 1 inch from each, the bottom and the side. The next step will be to add my S and drive connectors, which are going on this end, these ends. Now that we have divided our duct into its dimensions 2, 4, 2, 4 with its connector, seams. Now that the duct dimensions are marked, the next step is to do the notching. The next step will be to darken the object line. The next step will be to darken the object lines.
Now you can finish by marking or darkening your object lines to clearly indicate where you are going to cut.
I will now add some information about this duct.
I am going to make a second duct of the same size, but in two pieces, compared to the one on the bottom, which is in one piece wraparound duct. This one, again, is a two-piece, or another term we use is L shape. I will need to make a rectangle 7 by 7 1/4. Add your 1 inch for your Pittsburgh, 2-inch dimension line, and a 1/4 inch for my male Pittsburgh. We are now going to scratch or scribe 1/2 inch and 1 inch lines for the S and drives. We will now notch the pattern. It's now time to darken the object lines. There you have it, a 4x2 two-piece construction duct. Our next duct is a 5x3, 4 inches long, with S and drive on one end and a flange on the other. Our cut size for this is 5¼ by 9¼ for a 2-piece construction. I will add the 1" and the 1/4" for the Pittsburgh lock. Draw my vertical line. And then move on to the next step for my connectors, which is a flange and, on the other end, S and drive. Half, half, and on the bottom I need a 3/4" flange. This represents my flange, and this is the S and drive. We will now add our duct dimensions. Let's begin to notch. S and drives. You are now good to go and darken your object lines. The next duct that I would like to show you has a 3/4 flange on one end and a 1" T-hook on the other with a snap lock. First thing to do is find our cut size. In this case, the blank out size is 7¾ by 9¾ I am now adding my 1¼ for the female snap lock side and a 1/2" for the male side of the snap lock. And you will notice that this duct is again a 2-piece construction. I will now start adding my connectors. On the bottom will be a 3/4" fish lock, also called the clinch lock. The allowance is 3W, so 3/4 increments 3 times. I am now adding a T-hook, a 1-inch T-hook on the top. And lastly, let's darken the object lines to indicate where you will be notching and cutting.